So here we go on the YouTube video here for Highlander the card game. This is Gabe. You guys know me already. I got other videos on here. Introductions.
I'm Luke. On the Pro Boards, Suruchi Andy.
And he's current world champion.
Current world champion for Type 2 Constructed and Two-Headed Giant.
And
I'm Nate. I'm currently a developer for the website that most of you don't know about yet. And on the boards, I'm Belarus D'Artagnan. I have won no major tournaments yet.
that's just because you haven't gone to any, but
Yeah, you
you
haven't got
whooped the
a Gen
crap
Con.
out of us plenty of times.
Oh yeah.
We're here to discuss Highlander the card game. This is not going to be so much strategy as it's going to be the current play environment for those of you that are either looking to start up a group or currently trying to get into the game. So the first question I'm going to pose to you guys is, what are your thoughts on the current meta? Like, what are you currently seeing? We have the largest play group as far as I know in the country. So what are you currently seeing that's starting to become a trend?
From what I've seen, the ability to just be able to make a large amount of headshots is occurring fairly frequently. I know a lot of my decks are doing that. I've seen quite a few decks from a few other people just do headshots either every turn in some extreme cases, or be able to pull a headshot off fairly consistently within every couple of turns.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of dodge hate out there, which. Now, granted, I do tend to play the dodgy immortals, and it's like, really? Might as well. It was doing good, and then all of a sudden it's, okay, we need a lot of dodge hate. There are a lot of undodgeable attacks, but it goes beyond that, the two-handed broadsword. And now all the new dodges for everybody, it's, burn 2 cards off your deck, or something else that's bad.
Or discard 2 cards from your hand for every defense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one, yeah.
I agree with both of you. There are a lot of headshots coming out, which I like because that's what the game's known for, and it seems like headshots have kind of been an extra thing just to do at the end once your opponent's down to 0 ability. And lately, it looks like dodges aren't. You're kind of penalized for playing dodges nowadays, and I like that because early on in second edition, the game was just so dodge heavy. You had to build to take down dodge, otherwise you weren't going to be able to win offensively. So, with that in mind, where do you see the game going? Where do you see strategies going, I guess?
I see bait and switch probably becoming a bit more viable, just kind of with the dodge hate. You can't play dodge from your hand against this, so people playing bait and switch, the super alertness, just other generic alertnesses to try and get around being able to play dodges because they are the best defense in the game. Especially that with the headshots, just trying to get away from it so you can not be restricted where you attack.
Possibly going to a lot of power blows because dodges are now, you're getting penalized for playing them. So if you're going to have to block, you're going to have to block a power blow. Unless you're running the katana, it's going to be hard to mount your offense because you can't attack where you just blocked.
That in turn could mean more greatsword usage too. I've always thought the greatsword had great potential. It just, I rarely ever see it get used.
It's like my third favorite weapon.
So, with the game currently in the state it's at, and where you think the meta is going to be going, are there any cards that you would like to see, like any new stuff that maybe hasn't been explored? I brought up the possibility of alternate victory conditions. Like, instead of just having the victory condition of either taking your opponent's head or knocking them down to 0 ability, having another victory condition, like, for example, we discussed today, a Darius or a Light Quickening with its own victory condition where if you play a certain number of Holy Grounds or you perform a certain number of actions, you get victory points, and when you hit your limit of victory points, you win the game. So it's not necessarily a head-taking deck, but it would kind of give a strategy to immortals like Darius in the show, who just kind of sat on holy ground. He didn't want to have anything to do with the game. Do you see any other uses or possible victory conditions that might be viable in this setting?
So, the lore of the show with the Quickenings was always you gain another immortal's power, which is why we get the persona powers from the current sets of Quickenings. What I would kind of like to see is like a Quickening allowance. Like, this is the Duncan allowance. You're allowed to include non-signature Duncan cards up to the number of Master cards you have. Printed Master cards.
As a quickening,
As a Quickening.
that would be nice.
Yeah, that would bring a lot of new strategies to decks, because it's like, oh, I get Duncan's ability to modify my exertions, and that's it. But being able to pull cards from Duncan would be a pretty big game changer.
And I'm not just saying Duncan either,
Yeah.
like any immortal.
Well, I mean, you brought up Duncan just as
Yeah.
the first immortal, so I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, if they make one for Callus, Xavier,
Mhm.
Amanda,
But still try to keep it balanced with the restriction number being
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, your
you
master.
can't just use all of Duncan's cards. It has
no, I agree with the up to your master.
Okay, so with that in mind, what about alternate victory conditions? Do you think it's a good thing for the game or a bad thing?
Almost every game has some form of alternate victory condition that's brought about from either a card in play or in the base rules itself. It gives you something else to strive for. It makes the game change a little bit. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, I fully agree. Because right now it's, like you said, drop your opponent to 0 or take their head. This way it gives another option for gameplay. It's not just the, oh, okay, I know how this deck's going to work. It's, I'm running Darius with this light quickening. Now all of a sudden, okay, what's his deck going to be like?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so now we get to the big issue that I wanted to discuss, the future of the game. As we've noticed, those of us that have been around the game for a while, we noticed that there are several new sets that are on sale right now on eBay. New Versus set. We realize there's always been issues with this game, but we still love it. Nothing wrong with that. Every company goes through hiccups. But with the current state of the game and the holidays coming up, it seems as if though there's a lot of stuff on eBay right now for sale, and I've heard a lot of rumors, not just here with our local play group, but even at Gen Con and even on the pro boards and messaging other players from other states. The writing on the wall is basically telling us that the game's coming to an end again. That's the consensus that I've gotten. That's the opinion I've gathered. We haven't heard anything from the company, no official announcements, so we don't really know where things are going. Do you agree with that statement being mostly true, or do you have differing opinions?
From the turnout at Gen Con, and this is just the Gen Con attendance for Highlander, it was really just the Omaha Playgroup. And that in conjunction with what I've noticed on the boards of a lot of people, like, oh, I love this game, but I have nobody in my area, so I'm out. It does tend to make it look like the writing is on the wall.
I do agree that it does appear that the writing may be on the wall, but I also know that some of the other aspects, some of the back-end things I'm a little bit more privy to, just because I talk with the owner of the game, or at least the owner of the system, about creating what he wants for a website and some of the things that he wants to do in the future. It does give me some hope, but I can definitely see, hey, we lost, 3 players from random places over the course of the past month, just from them leaving on the board.
Yeah, I think that's all right.
And those were long-time players that I think were playing since first edition, so that says a lot for the game.
There's also a discussion on the board right now for, hey, let's just have a centralized gathering, and there's a lot of discussion on where that would be, but not a lot of agreement on where that would be.
I mean, I would agree either probably Omaha or possibly KC, since it's centrally located in the U.S. But just my 2 cents.
True, but if the game's being played very sparsely and there's just a few scattered players, they're not going to feel ready for a big gathering like that because, it's just me and my one buddy who are playing games here and there on weekends. I don't think I'm ready to go and possibly play in a 20, 30-person tournament. For this
True.
game, that's a huge environment, and nobody's going to want to invest the time or the money gas, hotel, you name it, to go to another city to go do something like that, you have to build that groundswell first. You have to start getting people back into the game. So, with that being said, I've proposed many things in the past which have fallen on deaf ears, but I think, especially, we've seen it with current games that are out. Look at the Highlander, the Duel game that's coming out now. There's no new stuff for Highlander as far as the films or the shows go, but they launched a Kickstarter and successfully launched it, and now they're in production for that Kickstarter based on the original Highlander movie. So that was the answer I kept getting back. Oh, we can't put out new cards, we can't do new sets, we can't relaunch the game because there's no new material for us to use. I think that's bullshit, honestly. I disagree with that completely, and people at the company might not like me for that. But Highlander the Duel right there shows that this world, the fans are dedicated to it, and it has the ability to be relaunched and restarted, repackaged for a whole new generation.
It just needs to be at a place where, hey, this rebirth that's coming is visual. That's why the Duel did so well, is they showed it off at Gen Con,
Yep.
where a lot of its fans already were fans of card games, fans of Highlander itself. It was just like, hey, walking past, what's this thing that looks like Kurgan, that looks like Connor? What's going on? So there would need to be some visibility with the relaunch, and then it spread from Gen Con through word of mouth from there.
Yeah. I would love to spread this game. I would love to go to local stores. We have the largest play group in the country as far as I know. We have 8 players consistently at tournaments. I would love to be able to go into a local game store and say, hey, we have this starter box that's coming out. New players can get into the game and be competitive right out of the gate. They might need 1 or 2 core sets like all the living card games do these days. But to have something to bargain or throw at the stores and say, hey, we have this so you can get new players started, it then gives the retailer a reason to go ahead and promote the game and try to get people to come to demos and stuff. If you don't work with the local game store, you're not going to get anywhere. And I'm sorry, that's the truth. I saw it at Gen Con myself. At Gen Con, it was amazing. I was just walking through and I saw the guy doing the Duel and just teaching the game to somebody else, and I was like, that looks really cool. And you have other games like Big Trouble in Little China. That came out last year at Gen Con. It was a legendary game. Big Trouble in Little China was one movie back in the 80s. I think there was comic books of it, but that's about it. After that, there was nothing. And they launched last year, and as far as I understand, they made a decent amount of money off of it. I think using that as an excuse that there's no new material to use is a crutch. I think there's a lot of potential with this game, and I think it can be relaunched successfully. What do you guys think?
I definitely think it can be relaunched successfully. Again, it just needs the exposure. I think starting it with the living card game format, like just get a series of 4 Immortals or 5 Immortals to start off with, and going expanding from there, like maybe doing the expansions of versus sets just as part of the expansion for the living card game. Maybe do alright, this is the Clan MacLeod expansion after you've released Connor and Duncan and Colin and Quentin. And then at higher levels, or at higher points, you can also do, okay, now we have Faith, so let's release Kate. Or we have, we can spread it out even throughout the movies if we want to go specific movies. Like, if we just want to do the first box set is the original movie, you can start off immediately that way with Connor, Kurgan, Sunda Castigier, and Iman Fazil. Because those are the 4 that are in there, and then you can start expanding it out. It's like, okay, now we get the first set for a series title would be Duncan and Slan. Just kind of do a versus set that way for each Immortal.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate here, you're going to have players like me who've been in this since first edition who are going to say, look, I bought all these versus set for hundreds of dollars. I have current second edition cards. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just toss all my stuff and get the new stuff?
I wouldn't say that you would have to toss all your old stuff and get the new stuff. We do already have a format for Type 1, which admittedly we don't play a lot in this area. Type 1 would be one option for that. Or keep the cards for the Immortals that are currently not released banned until that release date, and then all of your cards get to shuffle back in at that point.
Okay.
I know Luke and I both have a Duncan 3rd Edition set. I think you do as well, because
Yeah.
I've seen you play some of the cards from it. But with 3rd Edition, it wasn't not completely backwards compatible. It changed some of the formatting. It changed some of the way that rules were worded.
Yeah.
But it wasn't it wasn't not backwards compatible.
Okay.
So you just keep the Immortals that aren't currently existing in the environment out until their set is released, and then those cards filter back in.
Or they could, or when they release expansions, like make it another $40, $50 expansion, but it has like more than 2 Immortals. It has
Yeah.
maybe another 4 Immortals that you can add on, so you can pick and choose which ones you want to add. But with that being the case, do you think that the current Immortals that are out, 2nd edition, should be kept as legal?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do a relaunch for those people that already have a lot of 2nd edition stuff, keep them in, because it's, if I have to rebuy everything, I don't know if I would necessarily sink as much as I had in it. I might just be like, okay, I'm going to play Xavier, Duncan, and Mythos, and call it good.
It would also help them move some of that old product, those old Versus sets that they're trying to get rid of. Instead of putting them on discount and sale, you've relaunched the product. Now there's new interest, new players that are getting into it are going to want to buy those old sets to get up to speed. There's a lot of potential there. Hopefully somebody from the company watches this video and understands that we care about this game. We love this game. I've played since 1997. I don't plan on going anywhere. As long as it's alive, I'm going to play it. And even if it dies, we plan on playing it. Nate's working on the site for keeping track of wins and losses and player scores, so hopefully it can get the competitive juices going. I definitely think that's a step in the right direction. Now, with that scoring system, where do you see that going?
So with the scoring system itself, the overall goal is, like you said, to get the competitive juices flowing. So that I can sit in a situation and be like, all right, Gabe is top ranked in the country. What's his win-loss ratio for the past 10 games? What do I need to do to start getting above him? I do know that the 10-game rolling total is something that we are really liking, because it changes your scores overall over a shorter time frame, and it makes it so that if I play a poor Immortal and get my head taken 3 times in a tournament, then eventually that's going to fall off my record.
Bounce back.
But alternatively, if I play perfect, I take every head that I face, eventually that's going to fall off my record too.
I don't know, have you thought about adding so you have your rolling 10 game and then an overall of all games played?
Yep, that's something that I've definitely looked into, and it's something that I can definitely do as well.
Yeah, because that way it's not like, oh, I'm only playing really good Immortals. So I want to play what, is fun.
Right.
Yeah, that's true, because sometimes locally not that we get bored with the game, but we want to keep things new and fresh. We'll have weird formats where we try to make the best theme decks, and it may not be the best competitive deck, but it's going to be a fun deck to at least play with and goof around with. So I think that it's going to be something good for the game. Hopefully it continues. Hopefully the company will come out with an announcement here by the end of the year saying, hey, this is where we're at, these are our goals. We're a good tool to be used. I myself and Chris, aka Road Lantern, have a background in marketing, so we can definitely help them with whatever they might need. I'm already helping Steve Rice with some of the development stuff. I toss him ideas whenever I can for new cards and stuff, but it's definitely something to think about. Thank you guys for joining me today and putting in your opinions. I think we had a good talking session. Next time, we're going to tackle some other topics that might be of interest. Let me know in the comments if you think that this is something that you want to see continue, or if you want us to get more back to basics, focusing on strategy, cards, and tactics. we can do that too. Otherwise, we're signing off. Have a good one.